Manga Read Monday, the first of many. Today we are talking about Cirque du Freak. Now, this manga holds a very special place in my heart because me and my brother found this manga in middle school, and it's something that we were lucky enough to read the entire series from beginning to end. And I would reread this anytime and still enjoy it like I'm reading it for the first time. So let's get into it. So this manga follows the story of Darren, the main character, and his friend Steve specifically. So we open up with Steve and Darren and a couple other friends playing soccer, just enjoying their life as kids, and they're just, bonding. And you can already see from the beginning that Darren and Steve have a really close relationship. They're actually very good best friends. And you see that we get Steve inviting Darren back to his house, and you can see that Steve has a very deep like that zombies, specifically vampires. And Darren, he really likes spiders specifically. That's all he he like has an obsession over spiders, and you can see Steve make fun of Darren for that. But you can already see that the manga sets the tone for what's gonna happen when you see that Steve says he wants to become a monster, and you can see his face that he's a bit of turmoil within him. Like he doesn't feel like he belongs as a human, and he just wants to give up everything and become a monster. And so with that, Darren leaves the house. He goes back home, and he bumps into a mysterious stranger that hands him a poster. And this poster is for a circus, the Cirque du Freak. And this Cirque du Freak only happens very late night, basically at midnight, past midnight, and it's already been raising flags within the community. So if you go to there, you have a good chance of getting arrested. And so the next day at school, Darren pulls out the flyer. All the other kids see it. His friends and Steve see it, and they get excited. And they make a plan to go to it, but the teacher sees it and says, "Don't go to it because you can get a deep shit by going there." That doesn't stop them because they're kids. Steve and Darren really like the supernatural. And so Steve, the next day after that, he decides to go get some tickets, and Darren is very excited. He's waiting for Steve to get those tickets. And Steve, he was only able to get two tickets. And so, of course, Steve's going to go because he found the tickets, he got the tickets. And the next person, it was up to luck. He put it in his chest and he shuffled it and threw it up in the air. And Darren actually was able to get it because he remembered seeing movements like a spider, and he decided to lock in and close his eyes and feel the papers falling, and he jumped and grabbed the paper. And there you see Steve and Darren, never separated. They go to the show. So late night, they sneak out their houses, they go to the show, and they're captivated by the show. They see like a bearded woman and all that, but then an accident happens. A beast man attacks one of the ladies that were sitting in the stands and rips off her entire arm. And everybody's freaking out, but you can see Steve and Brandon kind of still, Darren, still kind of like they're scared, but they're still intrigued. And you see this little monster come out and stitch up the lady's arm, and the show goes on. And we see everybody else, like a snake boy. We see Mr. Cripsley with the spider, and he controls the spider with a flute. And this is intriguing Darren very much because he loves spiders, and he's wondering how he's controlling her with this the flute. And you see Steve, he's intrigued by something else entirely, and Darren tried to like say, "Oh, this is cool, Steve, right?" But Steve was intrigued by something else. And the show ends, and they're leaving. But then, because of the crowd, because the police show up, Steve and Darren get separated, and this causes a separation to where Steve finds Mr. Cripsley, and Darren finally makes it back, and he overhears a conversation where Steve figures out Mr. Cripsley is actually a vampire. And he says, "Make me a vampire, please. I'll give you my blood, blah, blah, blah." He gets the blood, but Mr. Cripsley said, "That shit's disgusting, my man." And he says, "Just go home, stop coming here. You have no chance of becoming a vampire." And this breaks this man's heart. It kind of like brews a little bit of hatred in him. And you can see in his face when Darren finds him and they finally make it home. And then something happens later on. I'm not gonna spoil too much. An accident happens with Steve where he gets bitten by the spider because they stole her, and this man's Darren's like, I gotta help out my homeboy. So he goes to Mr. Cripsley, and the only way Mr. Cripsley's gonna give him the antidote is if Darren becomes a vampire. And this happens, and it's something that is a genius because you make the person that doesn't want to become a vampire, and the person that wants to become a vampire has no chance. And so when Steve realizes what happens, he's so mad. He's swears that he's gonna enact revenge. I don't want to go too much. I did a little bit of the first chapter, but I don't want to go too in depth to where I spoil it. But you can see this sets the tone where Darren has to figure out his life as becoming a vampire, how he has to move on. He has to give up his family. He has to pretend he's dead. And then you see Steve. He enacts revenge by putting a cross in his hand, saying he's going to become a vampire hunter, and he's going to hunt down Darren, and he's going to hunt down Mr. Cripsley. So it's just a story of Darren accepting that he's become a monster, and then Steve, where he's promised he's going to enact revenge on both of them because he wanted to become a monster, and he got that taken away from him, and you could just see the closest of best friends just separate over an instance where Darren just wanted to save his best friend, and Steve, he just wanted to become a monster more than anything, and he saw that taken away from him, and he just hates that opportunity got taken away from him. But I definitely recommend this manga a 10 out of 10. I didn't want to get too much into spoilers. If you guys want more in-depth reviews where I actually go pretty in-depth into the chapters, comment down and I will do that. I just wanted to give a little bit of a background and to get you to read it because there's a lot of good stuff in here. Like there's a lot of plot twists in it, especially towards like the midway volumes and then the ending. So definitely give it a try. Cirque du Freak. I got this one. It's pretty hard to find online, but you could probably find it at Barnes and Nobles. But definitely recommend it 10 out of 10. And I'm gonna do manga reviews on Monday, and I'm probably gonna do some webtoons and other stuff. And again, if you want more in-depth stuff, do comment down below. And thank you for listening. And yeah, definitely give this a read. Till next time.